From the San Diego Union Tribune, hours after they completed the last leg of the grueling Hell Week, the Navy SEAL training regimen, 2 candidates succumbed to an unknown illness. One has died, Navy officials said on Saturday. The incident occurred on Friday, shortly after the 2 SEAL candidates completed the basic underwater demolition class, the Navy said in a statement. One of the candidates died Friday at Sharp Coronado Hospital. The other remains in stable condition at the Naval Medical Center in San Diego. The cause of death, currently unknown, remains under investigation. The sailors were not actively training when they reported their symptoms, the Navy said in a statement. They were immediately transported to emergency care. The seaman who passed has been identified as Kyle Mullen, 24 years old, of New Jersey. I've always been intrigued with the so-called BUDS training and Hell Week in particular, and I think we've got the authority to help us understand what exactly does that consist of. Scott McEwen has literally written the book on the subject. It's called Hell Week and Beyond, The Making of a Navy SEAL. His name should also be familiar to you because he co-authored American Sniper with Chris Kyle. The book by that name, of course, turned into a movie that starred Bradley Cooper, directed by Clint Eastwood. Scott, thank you so much for being here. How did this subject area become such a subject of fascination and expertise for you?
Well, thank you for having me on. I'm a recovering lawyer, and I used to do a lot of work for the Navy SEALs and for the Navy community as pro bono work for free, and that really led me to understand a lot more about the whole SEAL process, and met Chris Kyle, and one thing led to another. Now 10 books later.
What kind of a guy was Kyle? Many of us have read your book and or seen the movie, but give me some personal insight as to what it was like to write that project with him.
You know, Chris was just an amazing individual, amazing human, real patriot, obviously, loved this country, committed himself to 3 tours of duty in Iraq that were extremely difficult tours of duty, where he was with the SEAL teams there, and also jointly, deployed with the Marines. Chris was just an amazing guy. But, one of the things I looked at today before I came on your show was the background of the SEAL we just lost, Kyle Mullins. And as I would expect, the guy was just an all-star high school athlete, college football player, unbelievably, close to his teams. His coaches all said he was the best player ever. And that's the one thing you're going to find amongst these SEALs, is that many of them are just unbelievable athletes before they actually go into the SEAL team training, which is why the tip of the spear, which is the Navy SEALs, is such an amazingly effective and huge asset for this country.
So, of course, I wanted to ask you, having spent so much time in the SEAL community as you have, and having written so many books that touch on the subject matter, what is the common denominator, if it can be described? Athleticism is at the top of that list?
Athleticism has to be a part of it, but it's far greater than that. That's a huge denominator there. But people think that all the guys are 6'5", and door kickers, huge individuals. I know SEALs that are 5'6". There's no physicality as far as the size of the individual that matters. What matters is the size of their heart and the 6 inches between their ears. They have to be so wrapped tightly as far as their psychology is concerned to get through this training and to get through the knowledge of what they do. That's the one thing, the one factor that no one can really put a finger on, is the fact that you have to be psychologically unbelievably stable and able to endure some of the most difficult and painful training, known to mankind.
Scott, we don't yet know what went on here, and I take it you don't have any particular insight?
I don't have any particular insight, but one of the things I wanted to do before we go on is just send my condolences to the family. There's a family in America that's hurting out there today, and I know that they've lost a son, and their son has, devoted himself to this country, and I don't think we as a nation can forget that. So my real heartfelt, thanks and thoughts go out to the family of the fallen. Is it possible that it stems not from Hell Week itself, but rather from whatever it is they were doing in the hours thereafter? I strongly doubt it. I really believe that something happened. Now, the fact that there was 2 individuals that got hospitalized it's not uncommon that medical treatment is necessary after Hell Week at all, but it is very uncommon that they lose somebody in the process. In other words, that there's an actual death. You know, and the Hell Week itself pushes these guys to the limits physically, mentally, and spiritually, really, to be able to get through this. And afterwards, what generally happens is these guys are prone with their feet above their body, laying down in their barracks, because they need to get the blood coming out of their feet because they've been on their feet for so long, and basically get themselves back to a sleeping state because they're so tired after this process. Now, internal injuries happen. There is certain, you know, obviously ailments that take place during this 5-day period, including pneumonias, et cetera, because of the seawater and the cold conditions. So they're definitely, but they're checked unbelievably frequently by the Navy corpsmen and by the doctors there. So, you know, the treatment is there. The doctors are there. I don't know why there would be two guys. I don't know if they were suffering from the same malady, but that causes me concern. But it is not uncommon to see people needing medical attention once they're done with this procedure.
But lest anyone would think, well, Hell Week is concluded and they go out and they party their asses off, they're wiped out.
No, they're done. They're done. I'm telling you, I've seen the guys many times after Hell Week. They're literally wiped out on the ground. You've been up for 5 days straight. You know, your body is physically wrecked. There is no partying going on. There is no ability to party. Their bodies have run to the limit, plus 30%. They're done. So something happened. I don't know if it was related to the other guy or not. Obviously, they're investigating that. But I do know this. The Navy would have done everything they could to save these individuals because they're special, and they're special to the Navy as well.
I think there's a misconception that people might have that Scott McEwen can clear up. When you are concluded with Hell Week, you're not finished. You haven't made it. This comes relatively early in the overall process. Am I right? And can you describe?
You're exactly right. They front load it to the first month of the process. The process to become a qualified SEAL, SQT, SEAL qualified training, and to get your, what they call the Trident, is 18 months. But the first month they do the Hell Week, and the reason they do it is this. The investment by the end of 18 months with these individuals is over $1 million just in training costs per man, not equipment, training costs. So the United States government and you and I as taxpayers invest a huge amount of money in these individuals. They want to know right up front whether you have the right stuff to make it through. That's why they put Hell Week right up front, because they want over 60%, sometimes as much as 75% of the class will literally wash out by the end of Hell Week. So if you started with 100, you'll be down to 25 by the end of Hell Week of men that actually complete SEAL training. So it's 5.5 days long. Do they know when it's about to begin? Is there any forewarning? Yes, there is. They know the weekend it's going to begin. They know when you know, they know when it's going to happen. They sit, and that's part of the mental process, is to have these guys sit and wait for the guys to walk in with machine guns shooting blanks, with the whole procedure to put you through what it is that they're about to go through for 5 days. They know exactly when it's timed and when it's going to happen, but it's still, they want you to mentally get yourself in a place where you're ready to go, because it takes a lot. It takes an unbelievable amount for these men to get through. And particularly here with Kyle and these guys, this guy was going to be an officer. I mean, as far as I know, he went to college and probably was in OCS. He was going to be an officer in the SEALs. But there's no difference. I don't care if you're an officer or if you're an enlisted man getting in at 18 or whatever it is. You all must go through the same training. And that's why the SEALs are so effective as a fighting force. Walk me through some of the elements of Hell Week. Hell Week involves extremely strenuous activities such as carrying of boats on top of your head for miles, jogging for miles, 10-mile runs in the sand, jump in the ocean, deep freeze yourself to the point where you're almost hypothermic, and they'll pull you out of the water, and then you go back for another 10 miles. Essentially, you get 4 hours of sleep in 5 days, and they found that the brain degrades, I mean, literally degrades, if you don't get any sleep over that period of time. So they will give you approximately 4 hours of sleep over the 5-day period that Hell Week runs. Hundreds of miles of running, exercises in the cold water, things of this nature, swims, you know, in the Pacific Ocean, which is right now runs about, you know, 50 plus degrees, very cold, and basically bringing you down to the point of hypothermia which is the cold part of it, that tests these men to the nth degree.
With what level of oversight during the whole process by not only officers who are running it, but medical professionals?
Medical professionals will basically check these guys after every rotation. A rotation might be an hour long, 2 hours long, 3 hours long, whatever it is, but they will get medical care after every rotation, and they get a full physical checkup intermittently during the procedures. So there's a lot of medical checks that take place both while they're in the water or doing their runs or whatever else they're doing, as well as, full physical scans that take place intermittently during the procedures.
And it's all right there at Coronado. I've been at that fabulous hotel for speaking engagements. I came out to speak there just right before COVID and saw guys running on the beach, not necessarily Hell Week, but it's all right in San Diego.
It's right there. SEAL Training Base is literally a stone's throw from the Hotel Del. Just down the street. And one of the funnest scenes I brought up from Hell Week was about 4 days in, they were running a boat across the Strand, they call that road right there in Coronado, and some civilians were there while they were stopping the traffic right there at the Coronado base, and you could see a woman, one of the guys was describing, drinking her coffee in her SUV, looking out. And he could look at her lips, and her lips were, oh, my God, as these muddy, sandy, beaten guys go by with these boats on top of their head. And the average person, I think, in the populace, while we appreciate the acts that these guys do, we don't know that this is a very difficult training process, and it's a blue-collar job. Every day you got to earn your trident and be in shape to do the jobs that we ask of these men.
Am I right that as they're physically being taxed, mentally they're being tested by those who are running the process, who are preying on their worst instincts and trying to get them to drop out?
Exactly. They want you to drop. They want you to drop. And maybe Chris Kyle said it best when Chris told me, he said, there's a thing called the bell there constantly at the back of the pickup truck that's in front of them as they're running. At the training base, the bell is always in front of them, and you can ring the bell. And if you ring the bell, you get a quit, go get your hot coffee, your donut, whatever else, and you're out, but you can never come back. And Chris said it best. He said, I didn't understand what it was to ring the bell, or why that was so significant to people until I was in battle, because once I'm in battle and you're in the middle of a 2-day battle or something of that nature, and you're dead physically, you're dead mentally and everything else, you can't ring the bell. You got to keep fighting. And that's exactly what they want out of these SEALs.
Scott, thank you so much for this. You're providing the information that I really hoped you would bring, and I knew that you would based on your expertise in the subject area. How many are in a typical class, and percentage-wise, how many make it through BUDS training?
200 roughly will start the event. Percentage-wise, 25% will make it out. Roughly 25% will make it out. So if you start, with 200, you'll end with 50. So that's basically the culling, if you will, that takes place during, the BUDS, first part of BUDS and Hell Week. Once you get through Hell Week and you basically completed that crucible, then roughly 95% of the guys will then make it through the rest of SEAL training, because they know what you can do at that point in time. And then you go through with your air, your land, your underwater, your scuba, your weapons, your depth charges, all the other training that goes into becoming a SEAL with explosives, things of that nature, all highly dangerous. But once you make it through the BUDS and the Hell Week part of it, they want you to stay in, because they know that they've already got it down to finite. I
know in 2016 there was a drowning death of a SEAL trainee named James Lovelace. What do we know of that case?
I don't know the full of it. I know that there was an investigation over it because it involved the swimming part of this, which is extremely difficult. The guy drowned during the swimming part phase, which is, rare. I never heard of that before that incident. I'm not sure exactly what happened. There may have been some error there. I don't know, but they'll tie your legs and your hands behind you and make you bob in the water for hours and hours, basically to stay alive, treading water. And that's a part of their training, because the SEALs, once they're in the water, they have to be the best in the water as far as their underwater activities are concerned. So they need to make sure that the candidates that make it through are unbelievably good swimmers and unbelievably good divers, because, their job is to set, weapons and bombs on ships. that we need to take out before the rest of the Navy gets there.
And there's no sympathy if it's day 5 and you're approaching that bell.
No sympathy whatsoever. Every one of the men that is training them have been through it. They want to make sure that the guy that goes through it is ready the next day after he's done with SEAL training, could be next to him in battle anywhere on the planet. So the guys that actually run the operations are active duty Navy SEALs. They want to make sure that the guy that's there is going to be every bit as good as them when it comes time to go to battle.
Final subject for you, and thank you again. Do you see any risk to the program as it currently exists in these politically correct, woke times?
Well, the fact that the SEAL teams still exist at all, to me, is somewhat amazing. And they've undergone attacks for no women in the SEALs. They've undergone attacks for non-PC activity. They've undergone attacks with recent charges that were brought up and thankfully exonerated with certain SEALs that were in battle. But, we need these individuals. PC-wise, that's not a part of their game. Their game is not to be politically correct. Their game is to bring the force of the United States military, first men on the beach are the Navy SEALs, to basically soften up everything else for the rest of the military and or take out bad guys anywhere in the place that it face the planet. If we dull it, we PC it, we dull the tip of the spear. They are the tip of the spear. They are sharp and they're dangerous, and that's exactly where we need them as a country.
The book is called Hell Week and Beyond, The Making of a Navy SEAL. Scott McEwen, the author, and of course, he co-authored American Sniper with Chris Kyle. Many thanks. Really appreciate it, and I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you having me on. Anytime, I'd love to be on.
Okay. Thank you for that.